Live from St. Mary Medical Center in Langhorne, this is the Pro Football Report presented by BCWSA. Now, here is your host, voice of the Philadelphia Eagles, Merrill Reese.
Thank you very much, Matt Miro, and it is good to be with you at St. Mary Medical Center in Langhorne as we get close to the NFL Draft, which occurs this Thursday night. It'll be the 82nd draft in the history of the National Football League that began with Bert Bell 82 years ago. With me is a gentleman who I consider one of the great draft experts in the country, really. His big focus throughout the year is rating college players, seeing as many as he can live and on television and on film, and figuring out who is the best fit for the Eagles, best fit for many different teams. It is a great pleasure to have one of the originators of a publication called Our Lad's Guide to the NFL Draft, Bill Werndl. Billy, it is good to have you with us.
Thank you very much, Merle. I was not at the first NFL draft.
I know that.
All right, 82 years ago. But I interviewed many, many years ago Jay Berwanger, who was the number one pick out of the University of Chicago. And he told us on the radio out in California that he decided to go into business because they only offered him $150 a game. So he had a very successful business career in real estate.
Well, actually, he began his business career in foam rubber.
That's right.
He was with a foam rubber manufacturing
Mm-hmm.
company. And as you said, he came out of the University of Chicago that long since has abandoned football.
Absolutely.
And the interesting thing is the Eagles had 9 picks in that very first draft. And you know how many they signed?
None.
0
for 9 and no RBI.
0 for 9. And the Eagles owner at the time was Bert Bell, who was a University of Pennsylvania quarterback who left college to go into World War I, came out and became an assistant coach at Penn, then went to work for his father, and then bought the Eagles. And I think the original investment in the Eagles was $250,000 for the franchise.
Yeah, very cheap.
And he had 4 partners.
Exactly right.
But then you had 4 basic teams that were that constituted the National Football League, constituted professional football, and they were the Green Bay Packers, the Chicago Bears, the Detroit Lions,
and I think the Giants.
And the New York Giants. And that was the Mara family.
Right.
And they got together, and when Bert Bell came in, he said, you know what? The only 4 teams that anyone cares about are these original 4 teams because they won their games, and the newly joined professional teams like the Eagles went nowhere. We have to have a common draft. We have to be able to equalize the talent, and they decided, these owners, including the ones with the original franchises, that the best way to do it would be for the worst team, the team with the fewest wins, to pick first, and you went in that inverse order.
And of course, Merle, we've talked over the years about the draft. And I had the opportunity with Bill Polian, the old general manager of the Colts and the Carolina Panthers. And he said to me, 50% of first-round players do not make an impact in the draft. 50% of first-round players drafted do not make an impact in their pro career.
Yeah.
That's pretty amazing.
It is amazing. It is amazing. It tells you how difficult it is to, number one, evaluate, and how high the talent level is, so that getting in and becoming productive in the National Football League is not a given for even some of the top college stars.
And the one thing you can't evaluate is the desire and the heart of an individual. That's so important. And when you look at tape, you just say, wow, look at this player. But you have to realize if he's going to be a great player, he's got to be a guy committed to playing the game of football at a high level. And some of these guys, they get a contract, they're very satisfied, they move on.
Well, I'll give you an example, and I think it was probably about 5 years ago when the Eagles picked a tackle, an offensive lineman in the first round of the draft by the name of Andre Dillard. And he was a highly touted player. In fact, they moved up in the draft to pick Andre Dillard. And I got the sense, watching him in camp, watching him in his rookie year, that here was a guy who really didn't love playing football. And he was not a success here. And then, of course, they moved him, but he still is not. He went to Tennessee, and he still isn't anything special.
And he just went to Green Bay last week,
Yes.
signed the deal. But, again, I'm surprised that the Eagles drafted him because I think Jeff Stoutland does as good a job of developing offensive linemen. I still scratch my head because I don't know if Jeff Stoutland had final say on who was going to be drafted at that position. But I don't know. It just bugs me to figure that Jeff Stoutland, who's such a clinician, that word I'm going to throw out the window. Clinician.
That's why I'm here,
exactly.
to help you speak.
But he's so technically sound. Why would you take this guy? I know he was a great pass blocker in college, but he did not have that desire to really be great.
Listen, Jeff Stoutland was the guy who found somebody who was a rugby player in Australia.
Right.
And he brought him, he went to a school, he went to a program that would get Australians ready for American football, and then he came over here, and the Eagles, Jeff Stoutland said, let's pick this guy up. Let's pick him up in the 7th round. Just take a chance on this guy who had never played football. And that guy is Jordan Mailata, who is one of the best tackles in the National Football League. And I remember that during his first year, I went up to Jeff Stoutland and I said, how's Jordan Mailata doing? He said, Merrill, it would be like me asking you to do the game on Sunday in French. And I said,
Parlez-vous français?
No, I said, after bonjour and au revoir, I'm lost. But Jordan Mailata incrementally got better, and by the second year, he was a productive player, and now he's one of the best tackles in football.
No question about it. I mean, you look what the Eagles are doing this week. They are going over to Australia to promote pro football in Australia. Remember, baseball did that a number of years ago. Of course, we've seen the influx of Australian basketball players to this country. But, they're going over there to tap this area. I remember Bobby Beathard, back in the day, signed the first Australian player, Darren Bennett, a punter. And he turned out pretty...
Was that San Diego?
San Diego, exactly. So he had a leg up, and he said, let's take a shot at this kid. I think he wasn't drafted. He was signed as an unrestricted.
Well, now there are quite a few Australian-born punters.
Absolutely. I think maybe a quarter of the punters in the NFL may be Australian.
Maybe more. Yeah, it's interesting. Every year you say that a draft is strong in one area, weak in another area, where there are elite players but not enough of them at quarterback. What do you look at when you see the 2024 draft pool? When you look at this draft, how would you describe it in terms of depth, strength, and weaknesses?
Well, let's look at the quarterback position. Top 6 quarterbacks, very solid guys. All right? After that, it's very, very shallow. Usually you could find a guy in the 4th or 5th round. I don't see anybody that I'm intrigued taking in the 3rd, 4th, 5th, 6th round. Another position that's rather weak this year is tight end. After Brock Bowers, there's a dramatic drop-off. Then you look at the offensive line. Very good as far as tackles are concerned early. Interior offensive linemen, very solid. And then wide receivers are very, very deep. A very deep position in this year's draft. So that's on the offensive side of the ball. Running backs, again, I'll be surprised if one is taken before maybe the 55th or 56th pick of the draft.
Well, it's interesting that 4 years ago, a lot of people questioned the fact, and I was surprised myself, when the Eagles picked a quarterback in the 2nd round. They picked a wide receiver who turned out to be a mistake, Jalen Reagor, in the 1st round. And then in the 2nd round, they picked this quarterback from Alabama, then Oklahoma, Jalen Hurts. And most of us said, why are they picking a quarterback? They've got Carson Wentz. Why pick a quarterback right now when they need help at safety, when they need more wide receivers? And lo and behold, Jalen Hurts turned out to be the savior of this franchise.
And you have to give credit to Doug Peterson for that. Doug Peterson saw something special in Jalen Hurts, and they developed Jalen Hurts. Remember, after the injury to Carson Wentz, he started going downhill in a hurry. He wasn't the same quarterback. And then he had the back problem, and he had the concussion, so everything did not work out for Carson Wentz. Now he's with Andy Reid in Kansas City backing up Patrick Mahomes.
That's interesting. Now, I don't think quarterback falls into the Eagles' choices. Someone says that you always pick a quarterback late. I don't think that. I think that would be a waste of time for the Eagles to even bother with the quarterback.
I would not take a quarterback early.
There's no reason.
Or late, I should say.
I mean, there's no reason.
They have
for
four
the Eagles
on the
to
roster right now.
They do. They picked up another one this spring as a fourth quarterback.
Will
Greer, who had been with Kellen Moore in Dallas. But when you look at the Eagles and you look at their quarterbacks, they now traded for Kenny Pickett, who moves into the picture as a backup quarterback. And I thought last year they made a very good move in picking up a quarterback by the name of Tanner McKee. Didn't know much about him at the time, but watching him during the preseason, I think there's a real eye-opener there that this kid could become somebody's quarterback in the future.
15 years ago, he'd have been a number one pick. No question in my mind. But because they've gone to the run-pass option quarterback today, that's why he dropped. And I mean, I was a little disappointed they picked him, but you were right. He has some qualities that you can work with.
Go ahead.
And again, when you have a quarterback like that, it gives you a lot of flexibility. Because last year, 68 players started at quarterback in the National Football League. So the attrition rate is pretty high in the NFL. Can you keep a quarterback upright for 17 games?
Yeah, and you've got to develop them.
Absolutely.
I think the Bears made a big mistake in trading Justin Fields.
A terrible
mistake. I still
mistake.
think he's going to be a very fine quarterback, and maybe in Pittsburgh. I mean, he won't start right away in Pittsburgh because they made the trade that they thought was the one that would turn them around again in Russell Wilson. But I still think that Justin Fields will end up as the Steelers' quarterback, where had the Bears kept him, then they would have been in position to draft a great wide receiver like Marvin Harrison.
Well, look, the Bears have made a lot of mistakes over the years. Can you think of the last great Bears quarterback? I have to go back to Jim McMahon. Don't you?
Ooh, let me think about that.
And
yes.
Sid Luckman.
Well, not back as far as Sid Luckman. Look, Jim McMahon was a great quarterback.
Tough kid.
But after that, they got some good play out of Jim Harbaugh.
For a couple of years. Yeah,
he was a pretty decent quarterback for
right.
the Bears. And then you can go a little more recently. Now they made some bad mistakes. There's no doubt about that when they picked up Trubisky.
Mitch Trubisky, not only a bad mistake, they traded up to get him.
Yeah.
Which compounded the mistake.
Yeah, Mitch Trubisky was never a good quarterback.
No.
And never a good quarterback when they let him go to the Steelers.
Right.
He was definitely a mistake. But I think that they are now going to draft number one in the draft, and there seems to be two schools of thought. Are they going to take Jaden Daniels from LSU? Or are they going to take Caleb Williams from Southern Cal?
Caleb Williams has been compared to Patrick Mahomes, which I think is very unfair. All right, Patrick Mahomes was just a sensational player. I mean, his father was a major league pitcher for 11 years. This kid's a special athlete. Caleb Williams did not have a great year this year at USC. Now, there might have been factors with their offensive line, all that, but he did not have a great year. And if it was my preference, I would take Jaden Daniels, but I'm not making the decision for the Bears.
Well, the interesting thing to me is that Jaden Daniels, and this is not just our lads, this is pretty much accepted
Jeremiah.
But right around the league, if you look at the various mock drafts and publications, they either say Jaden Daniels or Caleb Williams.
Right.
For number one, then they all say number 3, Drake May of North Carolina.
He didn't have a great year this year for North Carolina.
And then the next one they pick is J.J. McCarthy from the National Championship Michigan team. And then the fourth one, again, either Bo Nix or Michael Penix from Washington. In my opinion, the best quarterback in this entire draft is Michael Penix?
Well, he has the most experience. He and Bo Nix, I think both those guys played over 60 games in their career. And Bill Parcells always loved the quarterback with experience in college.
But it's not just experience. I've watched him so often.
Great thrower.
He
great
is
passer.
the best spinner of a football that I have seen since Michael Vick.
And he throws a great deep pass. The one thing that's hurting him, and I don't know why, but with the evaluation we saw a number of years ago with DK Metcalf, all right? They go to injuries. Peyton Wilson, the linebacker from North Carolina State, injuries. Latu, an outstanding linebacker from UCLA, missed 2 years because of a neck injury.
Yeah.
These teams are very, very cautious about that.
Look, it's very difficult to find a 3 or 4 year starter in college football who doesn't have certain injuries in his history.
Right, no question about it. I mean, in my opinion, Penix should go in the top 15 to 20. That's my opinion.
You think he will?
The Raiders look like they have some interest in him, and I think that could be the X factor in this draft.
You know, I've listened to Pat Kerwin, and he's on every day with Jim Miller on Sirius NFL Radio, and they love him. I mean, Pat Kerwin was an assistant general manager with the Jets. He knows college football very well, and he says the same things about Penix that I see.
Well, again, I see a run on quarterbacks at the top of the draft, and that benefits the Eagles an awful lot.
Okay, we're going to take a break, and we're going to come back. We're at the St. Mary Medical Center in Langhorne. Good to be with you as we preview the 2024 NFL Draft.
Center at St. Mary Medical Center today. About 1 in 8 women is going to develop invasive breast cancer during her life, and if you're at risk or want a thorough screening to review your breast health, St. Mary Medical Center provides easy access to resources that can detect and treat breast cancer in its earliest stages. Whether you need mammograms, breast ultrasound, breast MRI, or breast biopsy, our breast center team is here to guide you through every step of your healing journey. Schedule your screening at the Breast Center at St. Mary Medical Center today.
Check. Okay, once again, we are live here from St. Mary Medical Center in Langhorne for the Pro Football Report with Voice of the Eagles, Merrill Reese, and NFL draft expert Bill Werndl. If you have a question,
BCWSA customers, former Phillies pitcher Tommy Green here. I played on the 1993 National League champs, so I know a thing or two about what it's like playing on a winning team. BCWSA has all the ingredients. They make it easy for their customers to get automatic updates by text, email, or phone, anytime there is a disruption in your service area. You can even customize your alerts by going to bcwsa.net. That's bcwsa.net. BCWSA, your partner for a safer environment. BCWSA, proven.
When an Eagles player gets hurt, the team takes care of him. When you get hurt, the attorneys at Begley, Carlin, and Mandio will take care of you. They understand that a severe accident can be a life-altering event. You need a reliable teammate to fight for you. The attorneys at Begley, Carlin, and Mandio will get you great results. And if there's no recovery, there's no fee. Contact them today at 215-750-0110 for a free consultation. 215-750-0110 for a reliable ally that's on your side.
A flawless occasion begins at the Capitol Grill. From the moment you step into the Capitol Grill, located in the heart of Center City, the experience is one of comfortable elegance. Whether you're looking to host a private affair, a perfect lunch stop, or dinner destination, start your occasion at the Capitol Grill today. Visit thecapitolgrill.com or call 215-545-9588. That's 215-545-9588 for the Capitol Grill, Center City.
Fall into relaxation.
You are more than just a heart patient. At St. Mary Medical Center, we get to know you, which can help us diagnose a problem and start treatment faster. Our cardiovascular team offers the latest imaging and device technology, testing, and surgical procedures you'd expect from a national health system, with the personal touch you want from local experts. We know the importance of seeing the person behind the patient. Let us help you live a healthier life.
We now return to St. Mary Medical Center in Langhorne for the Pro Football Report presented by BCWSA. Once again, here is your host, voice of the Philadelphia Eagles, Merrill Reese.
And back we are here in the cafeteria of the St. Mary Medical Center in Langhorne. We are talking about NFL draft. The draft, of course, takes place this Thursday night. Feel free to come up, ask us a question about what the Eagles or any other team might do or about a particular player. Hi, what's your name?
Hi, Merle. I'm Mike Toner.
Hi, Mike.
I'm first-time grandpa, by the way. My daughter just had a baby in St.
Oh, that's
Mary's.
wonderful.
Yeah,
Congratulations.
Thank you. And my wife, too, Julie, she also.
That's wonderful.
Thank you. So, Merle, I don't know enough about college football, but do you think the Eagles should draft for need or for what's the best person to draft? And if it's need, what do you think is the best person who's their need?
Well, let me put it this way. I think it's a combination. I think it's need, but I think you also have to figure out who is the best player and who would fit you. For example, if the best player in the draft is a quarterback, I still wouldn't take him because you're packed in that position. You've got strength with Jalen Hurts. You've got some talent in Kenny Pickett as a backup. They even have a young third quarterback. I think I think again, if you're talking about need, and I think their biggest need, and I'll let Billy join in too. I think their biggest need is a cornerback. I think they need help in the secondary. But suppose the top three cornerbacks, and Billy will identify them. Suppose the top three cornerbacks are gone. Don't forget, they are 22nd in the draft. And suppose there is a very good offensive lineman there. Now, that might not be an immediate need, but you figure somebody like Lane Johnson has maybe 1 or 2 years at the most left. You might want to delve right into that position and take that offensive lineman. Billy, what do you think?
Well, I certainly think corners a need. But right now, they have 12 corners on the roster. 12. Nickelback and corners. All right? Last year we saw a little bit of Kaylee Ringo and Eli Ricks, who have some potential. I would be more apt to go for an offensive lineman if they stay at 22. I don't think Howie Roseman is going to stay at 22. I think he's going to try to move up in the draft and maybe identify one of those corners or one of the offensive linemen. All right?
Yeah, I like that. Yeah.
But I'll give you another suggestion. Just suppose, things happen. At some point, at almost every draft, somebody who was expected to be dropped or drafted in the top 10 somehow mysteriously falls backwards. We've seen that happen.
Jalen Carter last year.
Yeah, Jalen Carter last year, and the Eagles were able to get him at 11. But suppose that player is somebody like the tight end from Georgia, Brock Bowers. He is a tremendous player. Keep in mind that Dallas Goedert is now 29 years old, and Zach Ertz was 28 years old when the Eagles drafted Dallas Goedert. Yeah. So now Dallas Goedert is 29, and he's very, very good. But he has a history of getting hurt and missing games each year. So somebody like Brock Bowers, if he slides back to 15 or 16, I could see Howie Roseman trying to make a splash on draft night, moving up, trading into that 15th spot, and drafting Brock Bowers. And that would get a rousing reception from Eagles fans, don't you think, Billy?
No question about it. Let's look at another area. This first round is loaded with wide receivers. I know they have Devontae Smith and A.J. Brown. But maybe Howie's thinking about getting a young receiver to complement Devontae Smith and maybe move on from A.J. Brown, Merle.
No.
You don't think so?
No.
All right.
No.
All right.
No, I think they have too much invested in A.J. Brown.
All right.
And despite some off-the-field things last year, and by off-the-field, I don't mean problems outside the locker room or outside the stadium. I'm not talking about anything, violations with anything to do with the city or the area. A.J. Brown's a good guy. But I think A.J. Brown is a great receiver, and I would hate to have put these resources in A.J. Brown and see him gone after 2 great years. He's had 2 great years, And I think A.J. Brown and Devontae Smith are just tremendous receivers. I don't want any of – well, first of all, they just re-signed Devontae Smith for a new 4-year contract. I don't want to see these guys leaving. Billy gets very antsy about moving people on, and I don't often agree with him. But with A.J. Brown, he is a terrific player. Now, if later on, let's say in the second round, there's a receiver around like Ladd McConkey from Georgia. He's a very good slot receiver. I would in the second round go for him in a minute. But early on, no way, not in the first round.
Another kid that'd be a good second-round pick is a kid from Florida by the name of Ricky Pearsall, who's an excellent wide receiver. He really intrigued me. Great leaping ability. Made some of the best catches in college football last year. We got another gentleman, Merrill, up there.
Okay, hi.
Thank you.
Hi there. My name is Matt Bourbon. I'm a big fan, and I'm a volunteer here at the hospital.
Nice to see you, Matt, and thanks for being a volunteer.
So my question to you guys is, if we get the key parts of the defense that we need, because last year our defense had a lot of struggles, do you think we'll go far into the playoffs? And if so, can we be Super Bowl contenders this year?
Well, the answer is maybe. Because one of the things you never know when you start a football season, you go back, how many of you really thought in 2017 that we were talking about a Super Bowl team? And I'll go one step further. How many of you thought when Carson Wentz, who was having an MVP caliber year, went down in Los Angeles and was lost for the season, that Nick Foles would be able to lead this team to the Super Bowl and end up as the Super Bowl MVP? So regardless of what is projected, a lot of people last year were projecting the Eagles, who had come so close the year before, to get back to and win the Super Bowl. And it didn't happen, as we know. And yet they got off to a 10-1 start. And I thought on that rainy Monday night when they beat the Chiefs in Kansas City and then came back the next year and spotted Buffalo 10 points, that this team was really heading in the right direction. And then the bottom fell out. So a lot of things can happen to change what seems to be the trajectory of a season. And the number one thing is injuries. Injuries can kill a team. But if the team, as you said, makes the right bolstering moves in the defense, I think this team certainly will be the best team in the NFC East. And then they will compete with San Francisco and maybe Detroit to be the best team in the NFC.
The one area that people are overlooking right now is depth on the defensive line. After Milton Williams, Jordan Davis, and Jalen Carter, the depth is not that strong. I'm not saying taking a defensive lineman, interior defensive lineman early, the first round, but I certainly think that has to be in the back of the Eagles' mind to build the depth on the defensive line.
Okay, thank you very much. We will be back with more of your questions right after this.
An injured knee might look pretty simple, but there's a whole person behind that injury. One who misses the feel of his jump shot and spending time with friends on the court. It's not enough just to heal. He needs to get back out there. At Trinity Health, we're here to help you reach your goals. We combine all the knowledge and expertise of a national health system with personalized health care that treats the individual behind the injury. Because we see all of you.
Whether you're just getting started, already well on your way, planning for your future, drafting your vision, growing toward greatness, or finding that dreams really can come true, whatever your next steps are, we'll be right here with you, just like we have been for 150 years. Start here, grow here, stay here. Penn Community Bank. Here we are, and here we grow. Member FDIC.
Your day-to-day life is hectic. Between having to pick up the kids, make dinner, the countless other tasks that you got to get done, Rob's Automotive and Collision is there to make your life a whole lot easier. Make sure you take advantage of their spacious waiting rooms, the large flat-screen TVs, complimentary coffee and muffins, and free Wi-Fi. So even when you do have to stop, Rob's is there to make you feel right at home. Give Rob's a call today at 215-826-9200 for any of your auto repair needs.
The SEPTA Transit Police Department is hiring experienced officers and entry-level new recruits. Apply today to join the department that keeps one of the largest transit systems in the country safe and comfortable for all who ride. There is no residency requirement and salaries start at $56,000. Benefits include tuition reimbursement, the opportunity to rotate through specialized units, and a dynamic and supportive working environment. Build your career in law enforcement with SEPTA. Learn more and apply today at jobs.septa.org.
Ventresca Limited, the Delaware Valley men's store, is located in historic Doylestown. For casual clothing in denim to business suits and tuxedos, Ventresca Limited has a large selection you have to see to believe. The experienced and knowledgeable sales staff can show you the many brand labels that have made Ventresca Limited in Doylestown a must for men concerned about their image. Select from Canali, Brax Jeans, Hickey Freeman, Johnson Murphy Footwear, and much more. Custom alterations are free. Visit Ventresca Limited on the web at ventresca.com.
You are more than just a heart patient. At St. Mary Medical Center, we get to know you, which can help us diagnose a problem and start treatment faster. Our cardiovascular team offers the latest imaging and device technology, testing, and surgical procedures you'd expect from a national health system, with the personal touch you want from local experts. We know the importance of seeing the person behind the patient. Let us help you live a healthier life.
We now return to St. Mary Medical Center in Langhorne for the Pro Football Report presented by BCWSA. Once again, here's your host, voice of the Philadelphia Eagles, Merrill Reese.
Thank you very much, everyone. And we are back again with our draft expert, Bill Werndl. And we have another person here at St. Mary's Medical Center in the cafeteria to ask us a question. Hi, what's your name?
Mike Cormanick.
Hi, Mike.
I want to know why the Eagles cannot tackle.
Great question.
Well, this is one of Billy's pet peeves.
Especially the defensive backs. And there's too many arm tackles. And I wonder if it has something to do with the rules about not leading with the helmet or anything like that.
Now, I'll tell you what it's all about.
Here's what he's going to tell you, that they don't practice tackling.
If you talk to a man like Dick Vermeil, the only way you could be a good tackling team is work at it. Now, you can't work like he did back in the day. I understand that. But there's teams like the Kansas City Chiefs are a good tackling team. They wrap up because Andy Reid puts them through the paces in training camp. That's the way you become a good tackling team. You have to work at tackling.
However, let me just point out that in the National Football League over the last 7 or 8 years, there has been a collective bargaining agreement where the Players Association limits the teams to how many live practices they can have during the preseason, how often they can actually wear equipment, and after every 3 days, there has to be a player's day off. They have to feel going into a season that they are healthy. Now, the one thing that Billy did not bring up is back when Dick Vermeil was the head coach of the Eagles, he could bring 120 players out to training camp, which was at Westchester, and then it went to Lehigh. 120 players. Now they are limited to 90 players at the beginning of training camp. So you've got to be very, very cautious as in terms of how much hitting you do and how many bodies you can lose. So it's not just a philosophy, although I will agree with Billy that they should go live more than they do. And as far as defensive backs are concerned, to be really honest with you, over the years, you watch some of the best defensive backs who ever lived, and they couldn't tackle either.
Deion Sanders was a terrible tackler.
Terrible tackler.
He ran to the sidelines all the time.
You really used to laugh at Herman Edwards.
Exactly.
Herman Edwards just waved at them.
Right.
But, they're great ball hawks. They were great ball hawks. They were great players, but they were not tacklers. That came with the position. They were great basketball players who went for the ball, but very few corners, because they were generally small in stature, would be voracious hitters. Right, Billy?
Absolutely. But again, you have to practice tackling. That's the only way you get better.
Okay, thank you very much. Hi.
So before I ask my question, I am a Penn State alumni. So my question is, do you think the fans won't have to chant "run the ball" this year because we picked up Saquon Barkley?
I love Penn State too. I'm a big Penn State fan, and I'm a big Saquon Barkley fan.
That's good.
I would think when you make a deal for Saquon Barkley, pay what it took for them to sign him as a free agent, you are going to utilize him quite a bit, and not just as a ball carrier. You remember last year the Eagles would remove their top running back, and they would bring in Kenneth Gainwell to block on third down. That's one of the things they did. Saquon Barkley, you don't have to take out. He is a three-down back, and also he is very good as a safety valve because he catches the ball well. So I think he'll probably have more carries than we saw last year with Swift, but I don't think it's going to be lopsided. I don't think it's going to be a run-first offense under the new offensive coordinator, Kellen Moore.
Okay.
Now, she mentions Penn State. I'm sick and tired every year of it
start.
either have Michigan or Ohio State in the national championship picture, Penn State sitting home for the holidays. It's time for Penn State, after great recruiting years, to put it all together and be playing for a national championship. Is that fair?
I hope you're right.
Well, I think without Jim Harbaugh, Michigan is not going to be a great team this year because they will lose a lot of players. So Ohio State is still going to be the team to beat in the Big Ten.
Well, we'll see with the 12 teams in the playoffs too, right?
Right, exactly.
We always finish there, so hopefully that'll help.
Yeah.
Well, exactly. But you have some good players coming out of Penn State this year. Chop Robinson, Fashinal, the big offensive
Chop
tackle.
too, isn't that a Penn State alum?
Who's that?
Chop.
Chop Robinson. Yeah. Has a very high ceiling in the NFL. He was not as consistent at Penn State as he should have been, but a lot of people think he has a lot of upside.
Thank you very much. Now, Fashinal is the one who will be drafted earliest, right?
Absolutely, the offensive tackle from Penn State. Now he could have came out last year, but his family, I think they're from Africa, and his mother and father wanted him to complete his education. That's a new word, or new words. Complete your education, right?
Well, not as much as you think, because with the pandemic year, a lot of guys were playing. Last 2 years ago, Sean Clifford was playing football for his sixth season.
Yeah. Well, again.
And they did stay around longer.
They did. And Chris Ermer had a great question about the SEC.
He did. Chris Ermer, who is our producer here today,
extraordinaire,
asked about the SEC, that in recent years, the Eagles have taken a lot of players from Alabama, from Georgia, from SEC teams. The SEC, Southeastern Conference, is the strongest conference in college football. And for a long time, they would draft from all over the place, but they didn't focus on the success of a particular conference. Do you think the Eagles will continue in that regard?
It is the best conference in the country, no question about it. Big Ten is second. But the SEC, because of the caliber of talent they get year in and year out. Look, they're a step below pro football, the SEC. No question in my mind. I mean, you look at the players that come out of the SEC, they are very, very talented and well-schooled on the fundamentals of football.
But you know what? Every now and then, there is a player who is not an SEC or a Big Ten player who sifts through in the draft. In fact, I can think of one who was the last player taken in the draft 2 years ago, and turned out to be the starting quarterback of the San Francisco 49ers. He was known as Mr. Irrelevant, and that was Brock Purdy.
Exactly, out of Iowa State. But he played in a big conference, the Big 12. I mean, but the SEC, when you look at their players, they're ready for the NFL. When they come out, they're ready. Now, the one thing last year that happened to the Eagles, Jordan Davis and Jalen Carter, they ran out of gas in the second half of the year. That means they weren't as conditioned as they should have been. You've got to push these guys. And a lot of times a young player, no matter what conference he comes in, from a 12 or 13 game schedule to a 17 game schedule of the playoff, you could be playing 20 games. It's a big, big jump.
Well, that's true. That's true. But if you do your scouting, there's always someone who filters through. Listen, I thought a couple of years ago, if the Eagles are smart, they're going to get this kid from Utah who's not only a good wide receiver, but he's a great return man, kickoffs, punt returns. And nobody drafted Britton Covey. Eagles signed him as an undrafted free agent, and he's the best punt returner in football.
And how about a few years before that? A guy that I liked a lot was T.J. Edwards.
Yeah.
An undrafted free agent.
Out of Wisconsin.
You know why he dropped? Because he didn't meet the measurables. And that's what I hate. When you evaluate players, you got to look at the production of the player. And when you start looking at measurables and really overrides everything else, you make a big, big mistake.
But you've got to start someplace.
Well, it's part of the equation, Merle, but it's not the end all. The key thing, can he play football, and does he want to play football?
Okay. Now, how about somebody like Nakobe Dean? Nakobe Dean was a little smallish for an inside linebacker. And he came on. He does not fit the measurables as ideal size for a linebacker. But they still believe that he is going to be a productive player.
If he can stay healthy.
Yeah.
As Buddy Ryan once said, you can't help a club in the tub, right?
No. Buddy Ryan said durability is as important as ability.
Was that Vermeil's comment?
No, nobody said anything about the tub.
Okay. I thought
somebody
said,
may have, but it wasn't either of those guys.
But you look at guys like that. I think that Nakobe Dean has a lot of ability, but again, he has to stay on the football field.
Yeah, but that's something you don't know.
No, you don't know.
You really don't know. Okay, we're going to take a break, and then we will be back at the St. Mary Medical Center. And if any of you have any questions about the Eagles or about the NFL draft, fire away. We'll be back right after this.
You are more than just a heart patient. At St. Mary Medical Center, we get to know you, which can help us diagnose a problem and start treatment faster. Our cardiovascular team offers the latest imaging and device technology, testing, and surgical procedures you'd expect from a national health system, with the personal touch you want from local experts. We know the importance of seeing the person behind the patient. Let us help you live a healthier life.
BCWSA customers, former Phillies pitcher Tommy Green here. I played on the 1993 National League champ. BCWSA customers, former Phillies pitcher Tommy Green here. I played on the 1993 National League champs, so I know a thing or two about what it's like playing on a winning team. BCWSA has all the ingredients. They make it easy for their customers to get automatic updates by text, email, or phone anytime there is a disruption in your service area. You can even customize your alerts by going to bcwsa.net. That's bcwsa.net. BCWSA, your partner for a safer environment. BCWSA, proven.
When an Eagles player gets hurt, the team takes care of him. When you get hurt, the attorneys at Begley, Carlin, and Mandio will take care of you. They understand that a severe accident can be a life-altering event. You need a reliable teammate to fight for you. The attorneys at Begley, Carlin, and Mandio will get you great results. And if there's no recovery, there's no fee. Contact them today at 215-750-0110 for a free consultation. 215-750-0110 for a reliable ally that's on your side.
A flawless occasion begins at the Capitol Grill. From the moment you step into the Capitol Grill, located in the heart of Center City, the experience is one of comfortable elegance. Whether you're looking to host a private affair, a perfect lunch stop, or dinner destination, start your occasion at the Capitol Grill today. Visit thecapitolgrill.com or call 215-545-9588. That's 215-545-9588 for the Capitol Grill, Center City.
Fall into relaxation at Hand & Stone Massage and Facial Spa. For an introductory price of just $69.95, enjoy the tranquility of their massage services and the rejuvenating glow their facial services provide. They even have specialty services such as a pumpkin facial or their signature hot stone massage. Restore, relax, and reset at one of Hand & Stone's 57 locations in Delaware, South Jersey, and Philadelphia, including the Lehigh Valley, for an introductory price of just $69.95. Call or book online at handandstone.com. Restrictions apply. See spa for details.
The SEPTA Transit Police Department is hiring experienced officers and entry-level new recruits. Apply today to join the department that keeps one of the largest transit systems in the country safe and comfortable for all who ride. There is no residency requirement and salaries start at $56,000. Benefits include tuition reimbursement, the opportunity to rotate through specialized units, and a dynamic and supportive working environment. Build your career in law enforcement with SEPTA. Learn more and apply today at jobs.septa.org.
Then, about 1 in 8 women is going to develop invasive breast cancer during her life, and if you're at risk or want a thorough screening to review your breast health, St. Mary Medical Center provides easy access to resources that can detect and treat breast cancer in its earliest stages. Whether you need mammograms, breast ultrasound, breast MRI, or breast biopsy, our breast center team is here to guide you through every step of your healing journey. Schedule your screening at the Breast Center at St. Mary Medical Center today.
We now return to St. Mary Medical Center here in Langhorne for the Pro Football Report presented by BCWSA. Once again, here is your host, voice of the Philadelphia Eagles, Merrill Reese.
And back we are in the cafeteria at the St. Mary Medical Center. Merrill Reese and draft expert Bill Werndl. Hi, what's your name?
Karan.
Karan, nice to see you.
Yeah, pleasure to meet you, Merrill. My question is, who's your all-time top 5 Eagles of all time?
My top 5 Eagles of all time. That's a good question. Now, if you're saying all time, you're talking about all time, and you'd have to put 2 guys from the 1940s actually on that team, and they would be Chuck Bednarik and Steve Van Buren. They were great players. Then after that, the best Eagle, the best Eagle that I have in my broadcasting tenure, this will be my 48th year, that I have been around as a player, was Reggie White. So you have Reggie White, Steve Van Buren, and Chuck Bednarik. Now, also in that group, there have been a lot of Eagles who have been very high up. You have to put Harold Carmichael, who is now in the Hall of Fame. And also, I think there will be a lot of divided opinions on this one. If I were to say one running back, see, there were really 3 great running backs in that time, not counting Van Buren. The 3 that I've been a part of were Wilbert Montgomery back in the 70s, Brian Westbrook, and Shady McCoy. You just check the record book, and the best of those in terms of his durability and what he produced would be Shady McCoy. If he had a couple of more years, because don't forget he had knee problems after his 10th year, Mike Quick belongs in that group. Also, but you know what? I'm going to just take Shady McCoy out because as I'm speaking, as good as he was, I cannot give you a 5th whose name isn't spelled. How can I not give you Brian Dawkins? Brian Dawkins has to be on that top 5. So maybe 5A would be Shady McCoy.
What about Bill Berge?
Well, Bill Berge was a great one. He was a great one, and he would be close. But, Billy, can you argue with those 5?
No, not at all.
You can't let out Van Buren and Bednarik.
Right.
You have to talk about Harold. You have to talk about B-Doc and who was the Reggie White.
Reggie.
Yeah, those are the 5. Okay? Thank you for making me think.
Thank you, sir.
Yes.
Hi, I'm Dan.
Hi, Dan.
A question about A.J. Brown. Knowing he's from New England and he has some drama here going on, do you think the Eagles would consider trading him for the 3rd overall pick?
No.
Not at all?
I would in a heartbeat.
No.
I would do it in a heartbeat, my friend.
No.
If I get Marvin Harrison and Devontae Smith together.
Oh, wait a minute.
Yes, Merle. You're reversing your field now, Merle. You're like Shady McCoy.
Well, you know what? I think A.J. Brown is very, very good. I think he's a great receiver, and along with Devontae Smith. I'm very happy with what they have right there, and I'm not about to tinker. Okay?
I love the tinker.
And wait a minute. And don't forget, I mean, would A.J. Brown get you the 3rd overall pick?
He has to get you a 3rd overall pick.
I don't know about that.
No,
you know why? Because the 3rd overall pick is probably going to go to a team like Washington who wants a quarterback. They've got one of those quarterbacks, and they're not giving it up for a wide receiver. Okay? You didn't think of that, Billy.
Well, no, he's talking about New England.
Okay, well, New England needs a quarterback, too.
Yeah, but look, if you could get a player of A.J. Brown's caliber, you may have to trade for a quarterback.
Well, let's see. Hi, what's your name?
Hello, sir. My name is Ellis.
Hi, Ellis. How are you?
I'm good, and yourself?
Great,
Now,
thank you.
I'm from Pittsburgh, Pennsylvania.
Okay.
So I'm a diehard Steeler fan.
So you like Kenny Pickett?
That's my question, right? I understand what his skill set is. I understand what his deficiencies are and what he's good at. I don't know what you believe his skill set is as to be your backup quarterback, right?
Yes.
Can you assess his skill set for you to determine why the Eagles trade for him?
Well, I think, number one, he is a very solid backup quarterback. I think he gives them more than Mariota gave them last year. Mariota wasn't the same player that he was when he came into the National Football League, and was supposedly Chip Kelly was ready to give up 7 draft picks and all kinds of Eagles to get him. He certainly was, he's a talented quarterback. However, he's not Jalen Hurts. He's also a good guy who will accept his role here with the hope that he gets enough exposure so that at some point he can really generate enough interest that some team will trade for him and give him a chance as a starter. I think he's a good passer. He doesn't have the arm strength of a Hurts or or some of the great power arms in the league.
Mahomes?
But no, there's only one Mahomes. I mean, I love Jalen Hurts, but there's only one Patrick Mahomes. He's amazing, and so is Hurts. Hurts is very, very good. But anyhow, Pickett is not Hurts, but he's a good, solid quarterback, and I think he will have a chance to be elevated at some point and maybe get a chance to start someplace else. But first thing first, do your job here, play the role that you're supposed to play, and your day will come again. Okay?
Merle,
Thank you.
This brings up an interesting question about the Eagles trading A.J. Brown to New England. All right? Just follow me out on this. They trade him to New England. They draft Marvin Harrison. They have Harrison and Smith. And New England tries to get back in the first round and draft a kid like Michael Penix. Does that make sense to you?
No, I'm not. I may be hard-headed about this, but I'm not getting rid of A.J. Brown. I've seen him make too many remarkable plays. I think he is a sensational receiver. I think Marvin Harrison's going to be a great player. I don't know that Marvin Harrison's going to be better than A.J. Brown. Marvin Harrison is awfully good, but so is A.J. Brown. A.J. Brown is a legitimate all-pro.
I'm not
Don't
arguing
outsmart yourself.
I like to outsmart myself all the time.
And that's why you're wrong.
But I got castigated by you and another guy that works here, Bob Groats, Paul Jolovitz, when I said it's time to trade Zach Ertz. You guys jumped all over me.
Yeah, but you said that 2 years before they traded him.
No, it was the year that he turned down his contract. I said you have to move on from Zach Ertz.
Billy believes that you draft a player and right before he reaches his peak and becomes the player that you wanted him to be when you drafted him, you get rid of him and move on. That's what you believe.
That's not true.
It is true.
I'm just pointing out.
I would never have.
If I could get a younger player like Marvin Harrison, who I believe has more upside than A.J. Brown.
No, I don't. I don't believe that at all. A.J. Brown is in his mid-20s.
25?
That's your mid-20s.
All right. But
he's at his peak. He's a great player. And he's also a good guy. He really is.
But some of the antics on the sidelines don't sit well with coaching staff.
Well, A.J. Brown is fine. He'll come back this year and he'll be fine. He's not worth a third overall pick?
Third overall pick. I'm telling you, that's very tantalizing to me.
No, it wouldn't
Look
happen.
at Chris Irmer. I thought you were on my side.
No, he's not on your side. He was on your side till he listened to some sense. Okay, we have a couple of minutes. Anybody with any other questions? All right, Billy, with that being said, I want you to tell us what you think is going to happen with the Philadelphia Eagles in the first round.
I think he trades up to 16 with Seattle. That's the dance partner he's going to have. And I think he's going to take Quinnen Mitchell or Terry Arnold, two corners. That's my feeling right now. Or they could look another way. If Uga, the kid from Oregon State, the big offensive right tackle, is still on the board, I think they may take a chance on him. And you mentioned Brock Bowers.
I'd love to see Brock Bowers.
That's a possibility, but I think Denver has their eyes on Bowers going forward.
But they'd be up in position to take him.
At 12. You have to get up to 12. That's where Denver's picking right now.
Well, doesn't Denver also have to think about a quarterback?
Yeah, but he doesn't like to draft quarterbacks. The guy that they may take later on in the draft is a kid from Tulane by the name of Pratt that Sean Payton likes. He doesn't like to take quarterbacks early, all right? That's been his philosophy at New Orleans and now with the Denver Broncos. He got rid of Russell Wilson. Russell Wilson was playing very good football for him down the stretch.
Okay. Well, we will see what happens just 4 nights from tonight. Thank you for joining us here at the St. Mary's Medical Center in the cafeteria. It's really a pleasure to be with you. I'd like to thank Billy Werndl for all of his knowledge and some of his ridiculous statements. I'd like to thank Bill Redner for putting this all together, for Matt Miro for being our executive producer, and our technical director, Chris Irmer. So for all of us, we thank you so much for attending. Have a great afternoon.